And opposition saying a complete ceasefire must be in place within a week. Damascus has agreed to the plan, but the rebels are calling on President Assad to step down first. Our Mideast correspondent Paula Sleer has the latest.
The United Nations has given its formal backing to the peace plan put forward by the former UN chief Kofi Annan. On Thursday, the United Nations Security Council issued a statement on Syria in which it pushed for the Syrian President Bashar Assad to adhere to his commitment. Annan told the United Nations that Syria had pledged to cease all kind of troop movement towards population centers. He also said that he was in contact with the opposition and urging them to stop fighting. At the same time, he called for both sides to show political will. Now, on Thursday also, a United Nations team arrived in Syria. They will be laying the groundwork for an observer mission, which is to come, and they're also preparing the scene for the April 10th deadline. Now, that is the deadline according to Annan's plan. We also know that following that deadline, there will be 48 hours for the opposition to lay down arms, with that final deadline being on April the 12th at 6 a.m. Now, the Syrian regime has indicated that it has already begun preparing the groundwork for observing that deadline.
The Syrian government is committed to making the mission of Kofi Annan a successful one. We are acting according to the provisions of Mr. Annan's plan. The withdrawal of the heavy weaponry will take place by April the 10th. We need a crystal-cut commitment and a guarantee by Mr. Annan himself, after he consults with Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Turkey and the others, that once the government will observe and will respect the end of violence, the other parties will do the same and will not fill the vacuum.
But the opposition claims that fighting is continuing in Damascus and in other centers, and that the fighting is actually getting worse. There certainly is a lot of skepticism with relation to both sides. As far as Bashar Assad goes, there is skepticism that he will continue with his troop withdrawal and actually meet this deadline. And then there's skepticism being voiced by countries such as Russia, particularly amid calls for rearming the opposition and the rebels. And this follows a Friends of Syria meeting that saw countries like Qatar and Saudi Arabia pledging millions of dollars to pay the salaries of rebel fighters. And at the same time, we heard from the United States a pledge that it would provide communication equipment. So there is a lot of skepticism as to whether or not the deadline for the ceasefire will be met, and indeed whether or not there's political will to actually adhere to it.